This is music. This is my comfort zone. This is me. It's time for another Garage Geek challenge. Garage Geek has been challenging members of the vinyl community to kind of step out of their comfort zones for a little while and engage with some music they would otherwise not even consider listening to in the first place. I think it's a fun challenge. It's a good opportunity to, check out some new music basically and explore that. And I obviously appreciate that. Check out Garage Geeks channel. It's a geek culture channel. He talks a lot about collecting vinyl and cassette tapes and listening to vinyl and cassette tapes, obviously, but also like comic books, literature, movies, Funko Pops, trading cards, and all those types of geek collectibles. So check out his channel. It's fun, entertaining, and also quite informative channel, so check it out. Anyways, his challenge to me this time was the Alan Parsons Project and their album from 1977 called I, Robot. This the Alan Parsons Project is often categorized as art pop, art rock, progressive pop, so it's in the kind of progressive corner of the music scene, I guess. And most of the music I like, not all of it, but most of the music I like tends to fall like under the metal umbrella or the hard rock umbrella, and those are the two different sides of the same coin to me, or the progressive rock umbrella. So I actually love progressive rock, and so that means that the Alan Parsons Project, I, Robot, is not really out of my comfort zone, but it's an album that I just hadn't heard before. I was busy, when I got into prog rock, I was busy getting into King Crimson, old Genesis, Yes, Rush, Touchstone, and of course a lot of progressive metal stuff as well. And there are lots of bands, Jethro Tull as well, but there were lots of bands I just didn't have time to check out, as things go. So this was a good opportunity to me, for me to check out the Alan Parsons Project. And I can certainly hear the progressive elements on this album. It's from 1977, but to me it sounds a bit more like 80s prog rock. So the songs are shorter. They don't have, your labyrinthine structures. You don't have all the weird time signatures. You don't have, like I said, super long songs. Pretty much all the songs on this album are like pop song length. But they are progressive in that, first of all, you got different, genres that are at play. So this album draws on some rock, some pop, some disco, some jazz, some funk, some kind of synth music as well. It's actually a quite synthy album, I would say. And you also have some kind of, I would say some of it is actually symphonic. Some of it is like epic, and you have elements from choral music and so on and so forth. So it is certainly progressive. It's like I said, quite 80s prog rock sounding, although it's from 77. It's very synthy, and that kind of makes sense because of the I, Robot kind of theme, kind of science fiction-y and stuff like that. So that makes sense. Overall, I think the album is kind of chill, and it's also kind of melancholic as well. if I were to highlight some songs from this album that I really like, it would be the opening track, I, Robot, which is it's an instrumental. Um, Most of the songs are not instrumentals. Most of them have like, vocals and lyrics, but I, Robot is an instrumental. There's some choir stuff, and there are some voices in that song, but no lyrics. And I really like how the opening and slash title track, how that builds up. It starts out very spacey with some synth stuff, and then it kicks into, kind of slowly grows into a quite funky instrumental piece with a nice drive to it throughout, which I just really appreciate. So I think I, Robot is a great song. Another song that I really like is Nucleus. That's a more atmospheric instrumental as well. And the closing track, Genesis chapter 1 verse 32, is another great sweeping instrumental with again lots of kind of melancholic electronic synth kind of things going on there. A nice way to close out the album. I also really like a track called Total Eclipse, which is a choral piece. It does have some instrumentation, but it's mainly a choral piece, and it reminds me quite a lot of I don't remember what they ended up calling it, but it reminds me of a bit from the soundtrack from 2001: A Space Odyssey, the kind of monolith choir, which is really disturbing and unnerving. The 2001 choral piece is. Total Eclipse is in the same vein, but it's less disturbing. But it's still a bit unsettling, but I really enjoy that. So I quite like those. I know the Total Eclipse is not an instrumental because it's a choral piece, but I really appreciate that. So I quite like those instrumentals, or the ones that have no words, as it were, in them. I also quite like Some Other Time, which is actually a ballad. But I really like how you have a theme, a very simple melodic theme that is kind of repeated and played with different instrumentations. And it kind of starts out a soft, simple ballad, and then it ends up being like a quasi-symphonic part, or quasi-symphonic piece. I would say that you don't have a full symphonic orchestra, but the kind of theme or motif, or whatever you want to call it, the melody of the song ends up being played by kind of like a horn section. So I really like that. I also quite like the following song called Breakdown, which is, I wouldn't say it's fast paced, but it has more of a drive to it. And it starts out kind of a rock kind of song, a simple, straight up rock song, and then it becomes more and more and more epic towards the end, and more more symphonic, and I really like that too. The only song that I don't care for that much is I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. I actually really like the opening. It kind of has almost an Eye of the Tiger opening. Not the riff, but the sort of palm muted one string, one note guitar thing that just increases in intensity. So I really like the way it opens. But then when the song kicks in, it's a bit of a disco song. It has a disco beat. It's not bad. It's just a song that appeals to me the least. But it does have its good moments. So, do I like this album? Yes, I do. I quite enjoyed it. It's very chill. I listened to it a lot in my office at work, just in the background. So it's one of those albums that you can have on in the background and enjoy it, but you can also really like listen to it mindfully and appreciate all the different details, all the different layers, all the different instrumentations, and all the different, you know, genre elements that are at play. So I really like the album actually. When I buy the album, I if I come across it in the wild, in vinyl format, I will, at a fair price, I will probably pick it up. I could pick it up on CD, which I might consider doing. But the thing is, this is an album that would be really cool to have on vinyl, because I've never seen a physical copy of it, to be honest. But as far as I understand, some of the pressings are gatefold pressings, and the cover artwork is actually pretty cool. So it would be cool to have it like in a full gatefold. I know that it's been reissued a couple of times. There's a legacy edition out there, but that has like kind of like an alternative cover artwork. I would like to pick up a version with the original cover artwork, because I really like that. It has this kind of retro futuristic feel to it, like how they imagined the future, what it would look like from the 70s perspective. So that's really interesting. So yeah, it's an album I would probably pick up if I come across the right copy at the right price. So I, Robot from 1977, progressive rock pop, art rock pop perhaps, quite accessible, quite chill, quite enjoyable. Has, you know, a bit of funk, a bit of jazz, a bit of rock, a bit of pop. It's a bit all over the place, but still actually quite focused and consistent in its sound. So it's not like chaos. Very accessible, very enjoyable. I do prefer the instrumentals, and while I like a lot of the songs that have, you know, vocals with the words in them, I'm not a big fan of the singing styles that most of the vocalists go for. But that's not a ding on them or anything, you know. That's just my take on it. I don't hate the way they sing, so that's not the case. I just prefer the instrumentals and Total Eclipse. But yeah, I think it's a great album, and I think if you are interested in exploring progressive music, and you don't want to get thrown right into the, you know, weird psychedelic and super arty stuff, maybe this is a great way to sort of, you know, a great entry gateway drug, or whatever you want to call it. It's a great entryway into the world of progressive music. And it could be an entryway into the world of progressive music from a lot of different starting points. Like if you like pop music, if you like disco, if you like electronic music, if you like rock music, if you like metal music, probably a better gateway would be like a progressive metal band, and then you could check this out a bit further down the line. One thing I really like about a lot of the songs here is that a lot of the songs have some really cool guitar work. It's not heavy or shreddy or anything like that, but you have a good number of songs here that have twin guitar harmony lead melodies, and I'm a sucker for that. So that's another reason why I really enjoy this album. So yeah, iRobot, I like it. So there you go. The album, or not an album, it's actually an EP that I gave Garage Geek to check out, is Oiran, the extended edition, by the Japanese all-female modern metal band Nemophila. So go and check out Garage Geek's companion video to this one. So there you go. I like this album. Not out of my comfort zone at all. Actually, it was a welcome chance to explore some progressive music that I didn't have the time to, that I hadn't had the time, I guess, to get around to exploring. So there you go. I enjoyed iRobot. I will probably pick it up at some point, but like I said, probably on vinyl. If I can't find it on vinyl, maybe CD, or I might buy a download, whatever. At the end of the day, I liked it. We better call it a day. Thanks for watching.